What's going on, good people? Welcome back to the station. This is Destination Debbie, and I am your host, Ray G. You can find me on Twitter at RayGQ. Welcome back. If this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button. If you like the content, if you like the videos, then hit a thumbs up. It only takes you like one click of the mouse. Just thumbs up it. And if you want to engage with good people, comment below, man. This is fun. This is actionable yet entertaining fantasy content to help you Devi in Dynasty better. And if you do like what you hear, if you like what you see, make sure you check out patreon.com/allgas. Personal cornerstone rankings, Devi rankings, the best damn Devi community on the planet. The Discord channel is popping every single day, all night. Campus to Canton leagues, Devi leagues, Dynasty startups, all kinds of crazy shit going on every single day. But today we are going to have some fun. We are going to play a little game of keep, trade, cut, the wide receiver edition. We will do this with the tight ends, the running backs, the quarterbacks, all of that stuff. But wide receivers are where we're starting today. We're talking about rookies, second-year players, third-year players, and some of those elite wideouts. What would we do? Should we keep them? Should we trade them? Should we cut them? Based on DLF Dynasty ADP, we'll be looking at some of these players, and I'll be giving you my thoughts and opinions on these guys, so hopefully you can apply those to your current Dynasty leagues. Make some moves, make some trades. You probably don't want to cut any of these guys, but for the sake of the game, we're gonna have to play. So maybe instead of cut, it's like keep, trade, compete against. Like the guy that you would cut and you'd have to go against, like the least of your concerns, or a player who you're like, all right, fuck it, I'll just have to go up against him, whatever. But we got to make a decision. We have to make a decision. So this should be a fun, entertaining show, and we will jump into it after we hear a word from my man, Gus Johnson. Talk to him, Gus.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
All right, here we go. Let's kick it off with rookie wide receivers, the incoming guys. All three of these players receive first-round draft capital. All three of these players have immense talent. They land in situations where they do have the opportunity and potential to be the number ones on their team sooner rather than later, but we have to keep one. We've got to trade one, and we got to throw one to the wolves, to our opponents, cut them to the waiver wire. So what are we going to do? Who are our first tributes to this game? So we are going to go with Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Jalen Reagor, Denver Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, and Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson. And all three of them land in pretty favorable situations for this upcoming season, but we've got to play the game. Which one are we keeping? Which one are we trading? Which one are we cutting? This one is fun because, again, all three of them receive first-round draft capital. All three of them are in situations where they've got the chance to be the number ones on their team here this season, maybe next season or the year after. To start this off, the one that I am going to keep is Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Jalen Reagor, and it is because there is a very real possibility that he's the wide receiver one for the Philadelphia Eagles this season as a rookie. Their offense, they throw the ball more than the other teams. The quarterback is proven, and the opportunity is there. So when you look at his competition for targets and touches, the biggest competition is by way of the tight end Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is a top 5 tight end in the NFL. He's led the team in targets the past, 3 or 4 seasons, led the team in receptions the past couple of years. He's going to be the number one wide receiver on the Eagles this upcoming season. There's no doubt about it. There's a good chance that he's going to lead the team in receptions once again, but Zach Ertz is a aging tight end, and when you look at the skill position players, the wideouts, this is what he has to compete against. Alshon Jeffrey, who all indications are he's going to start the season off injured on the pup, not playing, whatever you want to call it. He's dealing with a foot injury. Alshon is always dealing with something. You've got Deshaun Jackson, who, listen, he still has elite high-end speed. He can get down the field. He's a vertical threat, but he is not a number one wide receiver in the NFL anymore. His time has passed, and he's found himself in a little bit of hot water. I doubt that it's going to affect his ability to be on the field. But, you know, he played one game last year or a game or two and then had that core muscle injury and didn't play anymore. Deshaun Jackson is a 30-plus-year-old wide receiver who is now, you know, more so than not a one-trick pony, a deep threat down the field. You got J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who did not look that good last year as a rookie, as a second-round pick. Doesn't create separation, does not have that downfield speed of a Jalen Reagor. He's kind of like just a red zone threat who we really don't know what he is because he didn't do anything during his rookie campaign. And then you've got Greg Ward, a converted college quarterback who was like the team's best receiver towards the end of the season last year because Carson Wentz had nobody to throw the ball to. Then you've got Dallas Goedert, another young emerging tight end. And you're looking at all of these wide receivers, these three players. Jalen Reagor's path to opportunity seems to be a little more defined and clear than any of the other guys on this list. And for that reason, combined with his skill set, with his talent, what he was able to do at TCU despite having horrific quarterback play, despite being one of the wide receivers in college football with the least catchable target rate according to PFF, Reagor, his first-round draft capital, his skill set, his versatility, and being in an offense with a quarterback, Carson Wentz, who will push the ball downfield, who does have a high completion percentage. The Philadelphia Eagles were top 10 last year in pass attempts per game. They have a very, very good offense, and Miles Sanders in the backfield taking a step forward will only help that passing game. Jalen Reagor is poised to have a good season, and we talked about Carson Wentz and his passing efficiency. Let's just look at the passing opportunity that presents itself for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Pass plays per game, according to Player Profiler, they ranked 7th in the NFL, 5th in attempts, 7th in red zone attempts, 10th in deep ball attempts. I mean, that sounds like Jalen Reagor right there. Deep threat, accurate quarterback, high volume pass offense. The opportunity is going to be there for him to thrive in year one. We normally don't see a lot of rookie wide receivers come in and post 1,000-yard seasons, 1,100-yard seasons, being the team's number one wide receiver. But this is a player who definitely has the opportunity to do that in Philadelphia this rookie season. Passing productivity, 9th in the league last year in passing yards, 9th in completed air yards. You can see it. I mean, this is a pass-happy offense with an accurate quarterback who does have mobility, who can scramble and extend plays, which would fit Jalen Reagor's skill set quite well. Of these three guys, that is the reason I would keep Jalen Reagor. So Jalen Reagor, according to DLF Dynasty Startup ADP in July, is coming off the board as wide receiver 29, the 61st player overall in Dynasty Startup Draft. So he's not even being taken as a wide receiver 2. And to get a player at wide receiver 29 who has a really good shot of being the wide receiver 1 for his team in his rookie season, I'm taking that bet all day, every day. And the player that I would actually trade is being drafted much higher than Jalen Reagor, and that's Jerry Jeudy, the Denver Broncos wide receiver. He would be the one of the three that I would trade. Jerry Jeudy, according to DLF July Startup ADP, is coming off of the board as wide receiver 22, and his ADP overall is 50. So Jerry Jeudy is actually coming off of the board about 11 slots ahead of Jalen Reagor. And when you look at his situation, the competition for targets is even greater than what presents itself in Philadelphia and Minnesota. He's got Courtland Sutton, who a lot of people believe is going to take that step forward as a top 12 wide receiver this season. You've got Drew Lock, who, as much as we want to elevate Drew Lock into that elite territory or knocking on that door of elite territory for quarterbacks, he's still a young player who has not really proven much. He had a couple of starts to his game towards the end of last season. Still a lot of stuff up in the air when you're talking about Drew Lock. And they drafted KJ Hamler. You still have Noah Fant there. They brought in Melvin Gordon. They drafted Albert O as a tight end. So there's still a lot of players who dynasty owners are very, very high on moving forward. Jerry Jeudy's not going to be the number one on that team no matter what happens, unless Courtland Sutton and Noah Fant go down. But just where we stand today, Jerry Jeudy is not going to be the number one, or does not have an opportunity or a chance to be the number one in Denver's offense in 2020. His ADP is higher. He's being drafted earlier. Therefore, there are people who feel that Jerry Jeudy is that dude. And not only is Jerry Jeudy's ADP is high, the drafting of Jerry Jeudy has sort of knocked down Courtland Sutton's value as well. So when you're talking about these three wide receivers and which one would net you the most return on your investment, 100% Jerry Jeudy. He's got the name cachet, played at Alabama, that Alabama bias. We've been hearing about this kid for the past 3 seasons, whereas there are a lot of people who didn't even know who the hell Jalen Reagor was up until NFL draft season this past year. So Jerry Jeudy of the three would be the one that I believe would net you the highest return. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and trade Jerry Jeudy today, but I would definitely put some offers out there to see what you would be able to get, because if you could get, say, for instance, you can trade a Jerry Jeudy for either of these two rookies, Jalen Reagor or Justin Jefferson, plus, I would 100% do that. Jerry Jeudy for Jalen Reagor in a 2021 second. Give me Reagor in the second. Jerry Jeudy for Justin Jefferson in a 2021 second. Give me Justin Jefferson in the second round pick for Jerry Jeudy. And speaking of Justin Jefferson, of the three, he would be the one that I would cut. And it's not because I don't like Justin Jefferson. Believe I had him ranked wide receiver 3 or 4 in this 2020 class of wide receivers. I love his skill set. I love the fit in Minnesota, and I do think there's a chance that by the end of this season, he could be Kirk Cousins' #1 target in Minnesota over Adam Thielen. They lost Stephon Diggs. We do like Irv Smith. We don't know what's going on with Dalvin Cook in the backfield, but we do know that Mike Zimmer and the Minnesota Vikings want to run the football. And when you look at Kirk Cousins' passing efficiency metrics, it's the complete opposite of Carson Wentz. The Minnesota Vikings were 31st in pass plays per game, 24th in pass attempts per game, 27th in red zone attempts, 17th in deep ball attempts. Passing yards 16th. They were sort of just middle of the road towards the bottom of the league in passing metrics in 2019. And I know that's not indicative of what's going to happen in 2020, but that's the information that we have to stand on. They don't want to throw the ball a lot. They want to control the game on the ground. Even though they play in a dome, Kirk Cousins is an accurate thrower of the football, but they're not going to air it out 40, 45 times per game. That's just not how Minnesota wants to win. That's not how Minnesota wants to play. Therefore, I just question the upside of a Justin Jefferson long term. I said this during rookie draft season. I believe Justin Jefferson is going to be a high-end wide receiver 2 in Dynasty that can give you some of those wide receiver 1 finishes during the season, but it's probably going to be a more consistent wide receiver 2 for your team. Think of a Jarvis Landry, and I know Jarvis Landry has had wide receiver 1 finishes, but game-by-game basis, fantasy points per game, I believe Justin Jefferson is best suited in that high-end wide receiver 2 role, which is fantastic. You got to have those guys in order to win, but that would be the reason why he would be the cut of these 3 players for me. So I'm keeping Reagor, trading Jeudy, cutting Justin Jefferson. Now let's move on to those second-year players. All right, keep, trade, cut, second-year wide receivers. We've got DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, and Terry McLaurin, and this pains me. Let's start with the trade. I love this player. I think he's an outstanding talent. I want him on my Dynasty teams. But A.J. Brown would be the one that I would trade. His ADP is sky high. A.J. Brown is being taken as wide receiver 8 in the 25th overall pick. That's a high price. And a lot of people like Mr. A.J. Brown. When you look at A.J. Brown's efficiency numbers from his rookie season, it's ridiculous how efficient he was. And there's no doubt in anybody's mind that regression is due. Regression is due for such an efficient season from this player. 3rd in yards per reception, 2nd in the NFL in yards per target, 2nd in the NFL in yards per pass route, 3rd in the NFL in touchdowns with 9, 84 targets, 20 deep targets, 19.5% target share. Those things should go up with him taking a step forward in year 2. But coming off of the board as wide receiver 8, the 25th player overall, A.J. Brown can probably net you more than Terry McLaurin and or DK Metcalf in Dynasty leagues. And as much as I like the player, it's not about the player, it's the player cost, the cost to acquire said player. And right now, as wide receiver 8, I wouldn't even know what you can get for A.J. Brown. Probably a lot. Actually, I made a trade. Who did I trade? DeAndre Swift, a 2021 first, and probably something else in my home league to get A.J. Brown. Probably overpaid. I got a monster team in that league. But, you're getting like that type of return for an A.J. Brown. In this scenario of these 3 wide receivers, I like A.J. Brown the most. He would be my #1 wide receiver of these 3. But if I had to keep one, trade one, cut one, he would be the one that I would trade because of what you can get back from him. The one that I would keep would be DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is a size, speed specimen tethered to a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's got a legitimate number 1 or number 2, depending on how you view Tyler Lockett, across from him. That's been efficient. That is good. They did upgrade their tight end position with Greg Olsen. Will Dissly will be coming back. They've got a good running game with Chris Carson. They invested a 4th-round pick in DJ Dallas. And again, it's Russell Wilson at quarterback. That offense is going to move the ball. That offense is going to be efficient. Russell Wilson is a Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning quarterback. DK Metcalf is only going to take a step forward after posting a 900-yard season. His first complete season in quite some time. He was injured quite a bit at Ole Miss, but we know how talented and athletic DK Metcalf is, what he can do when he's on the field, and there were flashes of absolute greatness from him towards the end of the season when things really started to click for DK. So of these 3 receivers, he would be the one that I would keep. You're looking at Dwayne Haskins, you're looking at Ryan Tannehill, who just got an extension. Dwayne Haskins is a young rookie, and Russell Wilson. And I want the big wide receiver who was productive in his rookie season tethered to a Hall of Fame quarterback over the other 2. And I know a lot of people still aren't there with DK. I don't get it. I don't know why people want to hold on to the narrative that he lacks lateral agility and he can't separate and all he can do is run deep. DK is a fucking beast. Yeah, I got to cut it out. DK is a beast. I don't care what his 3-cone drill is. Who cares about any of that stuff? When he's on the field and what he was able to do as a rookie, he's only going to continue to get better, and you cannot teach 6'3", 6'4", 225, 4'3". Can't teach it. And what Russell Wilson provides at the quarterback position, he would be the one that I want, and I've said it multiple times. I think 1,200 yards this year is probably DK's floor. Is probably his floor. I mean, the upside is ridiculous. He's got top 10 wide receiver ability this upcoming 2020 season with his situation in Seattle. And when you look at where he's being drafted right now, according to July ADP, DK's coming off the board, considerably after AJ Brown. His former college teammate is wide receiver 15 with an ADP of 35 overall. So, AJ Brown at 8, DK Metcalf at wide receiver 15. I'm going to take the discount and keep DK Metcalf in this scenario, in this exercise, and the player that I would cut, unfortunately, would be Terry McLaurin, who I believe is in line for 150 targets in year 2. I mean, it's now what target quality he's going to get from Dwayne Haskins remains to be seen. None of us know. I don't even think Dwayne Haskins knows, but the targets are going to be there for Terry McLaurin. When you look at where he's being drafted right now, he's coming off the board as wide receiver 23, ADP of 50 overall, so he's considerably cheaper than both of these guys. But if I had to throw one back to the Wolves, if I had to throw one back in the pond, it would be Terry McLaurin, and I like him a lot. He's such a good wide receiver. He's smooth, he's explosive, he's big, he's physical. He's everything you'd want in a wide receiver. He is a number 1. He is an alpha. But I don't know if he's ever going to be able to produce number 1 wide receiver 1 overall finishes with Dwayne Haskins from what we saw out of Dwayne Haskins in his rookie season. And just like I've told you guys, you can only assume a step forward for all of these players. Every year, you would hope one gets better and better and not worse and worse. So hopefully Dwayne Haskins takes a step forward. But even with that, I just didn't see that level of quarterback play from Haskins to make me feel like Terry McLaurin would leapfrog either of these 2 players in Dynasty. And it doesn't mean I don't like him. I like him a lot. I think he is a high-end wide receiver too. What we want Justin Jefferson to become is what Terry McLaurin already is. Don't trust the offensive situation. I don't trust Dwayne Haskins. I don't trust his supporting cast, somebody to take that pressure off of McLaurin. Yes, I like Steven Sims. Yes, I had a little bit of hope for Kelvin Harmon, but Harmon is not there. Sims is a slot receiver. He would be the one I would cut out of all 3. So A.J. Brown, trade. DK Metcalf, keep. Terry McLaurin, cut. So let's keep the train rolling and go to the 3rd-year wide receivers. Keep, trade, cut. DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, or Courtland Sutton. What are we doing here? And this pains me. This pains me. Because I'm keeping Calvin Ridley. I would keep Calvin Ridley. His stats are crazy. They're almost like identical from his rookie season to his second-year season. 63 receptions, 62 receptions, 800 yards, 800 yards. And then the touchdowns, 10 as a rookie, 7 in his second season. He's playing on that high-flying Atlanta Falcons offense with Matty Ice still in his prime, slinging the ball around. I mean, he's a lock for 4,000 passing yards every season, 4,000-plus passing yards every season, playing opposite Julio Jones. You can't put all your attention on Calvin Ridley when you've got the freak that is Julio Jones on the other side. Hayden Hurst at tight end, Todd Gurley at running back, and again, the NFC South where they are going to sling it around left and right, playing in the dome every year. Calvin Ridley's talented. Calvin Ridley is a route-running savant. He creates separation at ease. He's got good hands. He's got to do some damage after the catch. You can't just catch and fall down. Got to work on that. Getting some yards after the catch would be nice. But Calvin Ridley is an ascending player. And the reality is, as much as we love Julio Jones, he's got less time in the game than he has more time in. Calvin Ridley is going to be the number one on that Atlanta Falcons team here once Julio Jones is done tearing up the NFL and scorching the Carolina Panthers for 300-plus receiving yards. But Calvin Ridley is a talented player. And, when you think about where he's going compared to Courtland Sutton and DJ Moore, by most people, he's a top 5 Dynasty wide receiver right now. Calvin Ridley, according to DLF, is coming off the board as the 16th wide receiver with an overall ADP of 40. 15 receivers in Dynasty better than Calvin Ridley? I don't know about that. His situation, his talent, his skill set, the pass production, he is on the cusp. He's going to catch 4,000 yards this season. And the crazy thing about it is he only started 5 games as a rookie, started 10 games last year, was a little bit injured last season, but he is poised for a 1,000-yard breakout season here in year 3. I would keep Calvin Ridley, and I would trade DJ Moore. And it's not because I don't believe in DJ Moore. DJ Moore is a stud. DJ Moore is an absolute beast. It's just the cost of acquisition for a player like DJ Moore right now, and what you can probably net by trading a DJ Moore in Dynasty right now, which is probably a ridiculous amount, a ridiculous return. According to DLF, he's coming off the board as wide receiver 6, the 19th overall player. So you get DJ Moore at 19, you get Calvin Ridley at 40. Where that can bite me in the ass is what is about to happen with Carolina's offense, or what could potentially happen with Carolina's offense with Matt Rule as head coach and Joe Brady. We all know who, for those of us who don't know, Joe Brady, former offensive coordinator at LSU, who set all kinds of records in college football history with the LSU Tigers last year. Now he takes over with Teddy Bridgewater and Christian McCaffrey and Ian Thomas and DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel and Robbie Anderson. So we can only imagine that he's going to take some of the same principles that he used at LSU and apply them for the Panthers, with DJ Moore filling that Jamar Chase type role. DJ Moore is a ridiculously talented player. He's absolutely dynamic. I love him. DLF has him as wide receiver 6. He is a top 5 Dynasty wide receiver for me right now, behind Tyreek Hill, behind Devontae Adams, behind Michael Thomas. That might be it. He might be number 4. I guess you could put Nuke there still, even though his situation changed. But DJ Moore, a young, talented wide receiver, coming off of his first 1,000-yard season last year. He had 1,175. Touchdowns should be in his favor in 2020. He only scored 4 last year and 2 the year before. That's really disappointing. Calvin Ridley's got 17 in 2 years, and DJ Moore is freaking 6. That blows my mind. That blows my freaking mind that DJ Moore only has 6 touchdowns. So hopefully he's utilizing the red zone more and has more opportunities to score his fantasy points. But DJ Moore, because of the cost, where he's drafted, and I just want to see him score. I hope he's just not this compiler-type wide receiver that never gets in the end zone. I don't think that's the case. I just think it's just a turn of unfortunate events for him so far to his career. But third year, he could absolutely crush in that Joe Brady offense if it's able to translate like it was at LSU. But DJ Moore would be the trade candidate of these 3 in the cut. Honestly, one of my favorite players that I've been targeting throughout all my Dynasty leagues is Courtland Sutton. I've traded for him at least, I think, 3 or 4 times across various teams. But, and he had, a rookie season, 42 catches, 700 yards. Last year, he went over 1,100 yards on 72 receptions. just look like an alpha of all alpha wide receivers. But it's the same argument that I made with Jerry Jeudy. They did draft Jerry Jeudy, and what I can see happening, which would probably be good for Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, is when it's time to extend them, they don't extend them, they franchise them, and then Courtland Sutton ends up going to a different team as the alpha wide receiver there. Think about a la Allen Robinson, and then Jerry Jeudy steps up and he's the number one for Denver with Drew Lock. There's your number one. You got KJ Hamler, Noah Fant, Albert O. Courtland Sutton goes and takes over as the number one for some other team. Just what if he goes to Atlanta? That would crush Calvin Ridley. Or what if he went to one of those teams where they needed a number one wide receiver, Miami with Tua, something of that nature here in the next couple of years. But Courtland Sutton would be the cut candidate for me. He's drafted after both of these guys. He's coming off the board as wide receiver 17, according to DLF, with an ADP of 42. So two picks after Calvin Ridley. They're neck and neck. But he would be the one that I cut. Actually, man, the more I think about this, I'd probably cut Calvin Ridley and keep Courtland Sutton. That's probably what I would do. I'd cut Calvin Ridley. We're going to amend this. Switch up. Just kidding. Cut Calvin Ridley. I want Courtland Sutton. I want that 6'3", 220-pound monster that is Courtland Sutton. Whether he's on Denver or on Miami or where the hell else he goes to play, I want Courtland Sutton. That's the guy I want. Cut Ridley, scratch that. Trade DJ Moore, cut Calvin Ridley, keep Courtland Sutton. I believe in the talent. I believe in the size. He's a freak. He was awesome at SMU. He's been very good both years in the NFL with Denver, and I don't care if he's with the Broncos or another team. That's the guy I want. Courtland Sutton is the keep. Calvin Ridley is the cut, and DJ Moore is the trade. All right, let's just do one more. I like doing these. Let's just do one more. Keep, trade, cut. Juju Smith-Schuster, Chris Godwin, or Amari Cooper. All three of these players are the number ones on their team. Yes, Chris Godwin is the number one on Tampa Bay. Is he not? I don't know. Some people, you're tripping. It's Mike Evans. Chris Godwin, Juju Smith-Schuster, or Amari Cooper. I am going to keep Juju Smith-Schuster. Over the start of his career, I believe there are only two players in NFL history with more receiving yards than Juju, and that's coming off of a down year. That's Josh Gordon and Randy Moss. Juju, the Pittsburgh was a fucking mess last year. Ben didn't play. They had Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph throwing the ball to these players. Juju was hurt half the season. Listen, he's still an ultra-talented wide receiver, uber-talented. You know, I still want to see. If his elite production in 2018 was a byproduct of playing across from Antonio Brown, or can Juju Smith-Schuster truly command that number one wide receiver role? I think he can. I think he's young. He's talented. You don't produce the way he did unless you do have some sort of elite talent, elite trait. He's been coming back. Deontay Johnson, he's going to take a step forward in year two. They did draft Chase Claypool. They still have James Washington there. Eric Ebron now at tight end. James Conner should be back healthy, and if he's not, they drafted a young, explosive running back in Anthony McFarland. You still have Benny Snell there. I know it sounds gross, but he's a running back, and he's going to hammer the ball up the middle and do what Benny Snell does. But Juju's in a situation where he's still running out of the slot. He's going to be the primary target for Ben Roethlisberger. He's still young, and we've seen him produce at an elite clip in the NFL. Juju Smith-Schuster is being drafted as the 22nd overall player and the 7th-ranked wide receiver in Dynasty. Juju would be the player that I would keep. The player that I would cut, it hurts me because I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. Sue me. Love the Dallas Cowboys. It'd be Amari Cooper. They drafted Amari Cooper's replacement in 2020. They drafted Amari Cooper's replacement, gave him the number 88, and that player is CeeDee Lamb. Now, it's not going to happen in 2020, and it's not going to happen in 2021. But after the 2021 season, Dallas can get out of Amari's contract with no dead cap space. And as much as Amari Cooper is dominant when he's on the field and locked in, he's just as fucking stank when he's on the field and not locked in. And it just blows my mind that in the most critical games, especially for Dallas last year, in a win-and-you're-in situation, he wasn't on the field against Philadelphia. He wasn't hurt. He wasn't on the field. He's talented. He's still young, 26 years old. We know that a 100 catch floor is definitely within his range of outcomes, leading the league in receiving yards. We see how dynamic he can be. One slant, he can take it to the house. Route running technician. But they drafted his replacement in 2020 in CeeDee Lamb. And again, in after 2021 season, they can get out of Amari Cooper. So he would be the player of the three that I would cut. The player that I would trade would be Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, I mean, the name cachet alone would net you a ridiculous return. It's coming off of the board as wide receiver 5 and the 16th overall player drafted. Top of the second round, Chris Godwin's off of the board. Tom Brady, Mike Evans, O.J. Howard, Robert Gronkowski. You know, I mean, the passing offense of Tampa Bay should be ridiculous this year. And Chris Godwin is probably going to lead the team in receptions and targets. Maybe not yards, because Mike Evans still does what he does, which is catch a lot of balls and fall down. And Evans is a stud. I mean, 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Let me not diminish how freaking great Mike Evans has been to the start of his career. I think it's him, Randy Moss, the only players to start out like that. I believe that's the case. Mike Evans is a stud, but Chris Godwin being drafted higher than Mike Evans. I mean, the only players going ahead of Chris Godwin are Nuke Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, and Michael Thomas in Dynasty startup drafts. Therefore, that's the simple answer. You can net probably, if you wanted to trade Chris Godwin, you can get Amari Cooper plus. You probably can get Juju Smith-Schuster plus for Chris Godwin right now. And that would be the reason, and the sole reason I would trade Godwin. It has nothing to do with what I think his talent is. I don't think there's no argument that can be made about his production as to why I would want to trade Chris Godwin. I mean, he's good. I love Chris Godwin. He is the number one on Tampa Bay's offense, in my opinion. And it would just be the cost of acquisition, period. Nothing else about it. No regression, none of that. Godwin is a stud, but as wide receiver 5, he would be the one that I would trade. So I'm keeping Juju, I'm cutting Amari Cooper, and I'm trading Chris Godwin. All right, one more, just for good measure. 2021 edition, Rondale Moore, Jamar Chase, Rashad Bateman, my top 3 wide receivers in the 2021 class. I'm just going to be brief. I'm trading Jamar Chase, I'm keeping Rondale Moore, and I'm cutting Rashad Bateman. I love all 3 Tier 1 wide receivers in the 2021 class. I'll expand upon that at a later time. Appreciate you guys joining me today. I hope you gained something from this exercise. All of these wide receivers are talented players who should score fantasy points for our team. But if you got to keep one, trade one, cut one, where'd I go wrong? What would you do differently? If you like the content, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. If you want more content from Ray GQ from me, Patreon.com/allgas, exclusive access to me, the best damn Devy community on the planet. We are here to help you Devy and Dynasty better. Until next time, start your week out right. Make sure you stay hustling no matter what it is you do. Achieve those goals, man. Grind, motivate others, stay humble, stay grounded, stay level-headed. Keep doing your damn thing and don't worry about what anybody else says. Do your damn thing, man. Till next time, man, I'll catch y'all on the station later. Peace.